Welcome back to Animal Crossing New Horizons. I'm dear darling, and shall we see what's going on our lovely island of Fawnhollow today as I turned down the volume of Animal Crossing. That was a little bit too loud, I think. I don't know why I said it like that. A little bit too loud. Had a little bit of a worry just before I started recording this because my Switch dock wasn't working. Like, it wasn't lighting up and it wasn't like connecting properly, and I was like, that's weird. Normally this just sort of works. I just plug it in and it's fine. And I was like troubleshooting it with like, is it the cables that's dodgy? Is it like the docks that's dodgy? I tried different cables because I'm very lucky to have two monitors here, both with varying HDMI cable. So switched that round and I was like, wait a minute, the light's not even lighting up. Like, this means that probably the USB-C cable is broken, and lo and behold, it wasn't even plugged in. So there we go. Good evening, everyone. Right now in Fawnhollow, it's 7:14 PM on Tuesday, January 31st, 2023. See, the thing is, the weirdest thing about it is I always leave it plugged in, just like, no, I guess my Switch is always like charging on standby, and you might be like, that's a bit wasteful, and I suppose it's just sort of like out of convenience anything, because my plug is always out of underside of a back of my desk. If I had perhaps my desk in the middle of my room, I'd be more inclined, I think, to not leave it plugged in all the time, but alas, I don't. Because there's only so much space to go around. But no, the thing is, it was... Hold on a minute. Happy Academy letter. Did I not check the mailbox yesterday? Did I record an Animal Crossing episode yesterday? What day is it today? Today's Tuesday, right? I swear I did. And it was like hitting the gym or something. It's a bit weird to have a Happy Home Paradise letter, because that's get sent out on Sunday. Hold on, let's see, Monday. Was that yesterday? January 31st. Yeah, okay. Don't know what, I guess I just didn't check the letters yesterday, but who cares. But yeah. It was a bit weird because it's normally left plugged in, so I don't know when I unplugged it, and I also don't know why only the Switch was unplugged, because I got a lot of things plugged into there. It's like a power strip. I got, my computer, my monitors, etc., etc. All the things are plugged into there because, I need a lot of power in this one particular area. And you might be like, that's dangerous, you're overloading the socket, which is, something which I always remember as, I don't know if I told this anecdote before, but it was one time in year two? Let me think, hold on. Year two. Or maybe it was year 3, I don't remember. It was one of those two classrooms, but I can't remember which one particularly off the top of my head. And then we were shown a picture, and we had to point out everything dangerous which was going on in the picture. And there were some really obvious ones, like there was a cat in the laundry machine. There was, like, I don't know, just like knives out. And I don't mean the movie. But the only one I remember that I got, and then I was like, oh, they're overloading the power strip. But no, they're overloading the socket or something. And then people were just like, ooh. Check, dear darling, how knows the word overload. And it probably was here too, I don't know. Anyway, that's got no relevance to anything. Just like, I don't know, I guess be a bit careful with sticking so many things into our power strips. I'm not an electrician, so, theoretically I should kind of know like what a reasonable limit is, but I don't. But yeah, and I don't know, I got a lot of things plugged in there. So it sort of baffles me that this was the one thing which was not plugged in. I must have like unplugged it somehow, but I don't even know how. Like, it might just be the angle it's at. It just like slowly wiggled its way out and I just never noticed or something, but I genuinely don't know how on earth that happened. I can't even imagine to think how that happened, because it was like properly unplugged. I've got no clue. I got no clue. I don't know, maybe I did it last night when I was like, in a state of delirium or something, which, alright, fair enough. You tend to not remember those particularly well. But anyway, it's always sort of like troubleshooting, technology joke, the first one being like, have you tried turning it off and on again? And then if it doesn't turn on, have you tried making sure you plugged it in? And then the final thing being like, have you made sure you turned it on after you plugged it in? And as I say that, solves like 90% of IT problems. Maybe, I don't know, I don't work in IT, so technically I don't really know, but, I've had my fair share of technology, and the amount of things which just work again by just resetting them and just fantastical. But this is one of the first times I think in a very long time I've had a problem where it's just like, oh, I can't figure out what's wrong. I mean, it's just like, oh, it's not even plugged in, I like to think that's normally a thing I check quite often, to, save myself my own ridicule. And you might be like, ridicule from who? Well, I guess myself? I don't really know. Just like my first-hand embarrassment at myself being like, I can't believe I didn't even check it was plugged in. But actually it's happened before. I think at least the last time I can remember it happened was when I built my computer. I built my this computer. Was it this computer? I think it was this computer. It was ages ago. I think it must have been 5 or 6 years ago. What do you think, computers? Does that sound about right? Yeah, I think that sounds about right. I'm going to say 6 years ago, and during the summer, I remember. And for whatever reason, I remember I was wearing an orange t-shirt. Just in case you wanted to know what colour t-shirt I was wearing for that when I was building with a computer. I remember I assembled everything. And if you don't know, when you build a computer, theoretically what you're meant to do is check all your components are working by assembling it with a motherboard and all the stuff outside the box, and then reassembling it inside the box. I'm going to be honest, I didn't do that. I don't really know anyone who does do that. Like even me, like super prepared, overly prepared, overly cautious me doesn't even do that, because I'm just like, that's too much to be perfectly honest. So I just assembled everything inside the computer, like, and did everything, by the book, checked with a guide and made like checklist and made sure I didn't miss anything. And then, like, went to turn it on, everything's plugged in, push the button, didn't turn on, and I went, oh no, something's wrong. And it was nothing more disheartening than like working on something, assembling over, like, I assume it took a couple of hours. I don't genuinely remember. Maybe it was faster, maybe it was slower. And then being like, oh no, it's not working, and I have to find out why. Luckily, I didn't take very long troubleshooting. I ran over checklist again, and I was like, oh, didn't have a power supply on. So then I just turned it on, and I was like, whoop, it booted up perfectly fine. And I was like, wow, that's actually incredible, the fact that it went perfectly fine, basically, except for I didn't flick the switch. And if anything, that's a little bit of a miracle, because it's just like, wow, so many more things could have gone wrong, but they didn't. So, we'll take what we can get. I can't really remember any other times recently where I've like tried to like assemble something and it's not gotten right. I also like my drawing tablet. I don't know why it's so far out. Like I just looked over to my right. I was like, my drawing tablet looks really close to my face right now, and I've got no clue why. Yeah. But turn things off, turn things on, and then make sure things are plugged in, make sure things are switched on, etc., etc. All great troubleshooting tips. It has made me think that I should probably get a spare dock. Nintendo Switch dock at some point, just to make sure that this doesn't happen again. And you know what would be cool? Maybe I should get the New Horizons dock. I don't know if you can buy that dock by itself. I think you have to buy the entire Switch, and I don't really want to buy an entire Switch, unless I don't know if it's particularly easy to transfer data from one Switch to another. Hold on, let's see. Data transfer Switch. Is it easy? How to transfer your save data to a nearby nearby Nintendo Switch console? But it's also, it's kind of expensive buying a whole another Switch, I'm going to be perfectly honest. Didn't they say there was like a Switch 2.0 coming out, or LED? If there's that Animal Crossing over LED one, maybe I'll get that. But yeah, again, I never use a Nintendo Switch screen itself. I always use it as basically a home console rather than a portable console. I can't even remember the last time I used that as a portable console, because every time I want portable gaming, I just use my phone. I'm going to be honest, I have a lot of games on my phone, so that's just what I do. So it seems like it's pretty simple, actually, to transfer data, which is nice, Certainly not going to say anything bad about that. Let's see. New Horizons Switch. At some point I said I was going to get amiibos as well, but, that never happened. These are all the cards. Probably a lot of them, not the official cards. I actually meant to, I guess just search Animal Crossing Switch. I don't know if it still exists. Animal Crossing Switch is currently unavailable. There's a controller. That's probably a third party one. Here we go. £419. Is that how expensive the Switch was when I first bought it? I don't remember that. So it doesn't seem like I can buy one separately. What does the Switch actually look like outside the dock? It'd be a nice way to get new Joy-Cons, eh? You might be like, how many Joy-Cons could you possibly need? And the answer is, I never have enough. That's not even remotely true, by the way, because definitely if there's up a maximum of like 8, you probably don't need more than 8. Like, I don't know any game which can even connect more than 8, Joy-Cons all at once, but still. But it did make me think. I was like, maybe at some point I should get another dock. But the more I think about it, the dock is not going to be the weak point, probably, in a Nintendo Switch like connection system. I mean, maybe it is, but there's no way. It's got like no moving parts. It's basically just like a receptacle to plug 2 things into, or 3 things into, technically, because one thing has to be for Switch, and that's fine. Probably almost certainly the cable would fail, I'd imagine, before that, but I don't really know. I'm not an expert in identifying the weak points. And I suppose if that's the case where, I'm into drinks, I'm into tea. Yeah, that's right, and I do like tea. hold on. That wasn't T doesn't have pre-written answers, which that's interesting. I don't know if tea's not necessarily my favourite drink, but it's probably the broadest. It's a drink you can give me and I'll never be like, no thanks. Unless it's a really terrible tea. And there's a lot of different types of tea, so, you know, they're all pretty good, I think. I forgot what I was going to say about, like, weak points or whatever in the Switch. I genuinely don't remember anymore. but the dock is not going to be the weak point, probably. It's not going to be the weakest chain, and imagine in the link. Oh yeah, that's what I was going to say. And if ever there comes a point and it's like, oh, you know, the Switch, the dock is broken, the connection's not working, I can't record my usual way using the Elgato, or, you know, however you might pronounce it in Spanish, I suppose, the cat. I'm just going to call it the cat now. I mean, you know, why don't we sort of return to form in the good old days of the early 2000s, early 2000s, mid 2000s YouTube, late 2000s YouTube? When did YouTube start? 2006? That sounds about right. With Let's Plays of people just like pointing cameras like at their screens or whatever. Like I can't remember who I watched. I don't know if it was necessarily Sonic Dude / Ant Dude or whatever, or if it was like you know, the Bit Block or We Folder Josh or whatever his name was, or Chugga Connor or something. But someone did like a DS Let's Play of literally just like the camera pointing at the DS like from above, and I was like, whoa, what an advanced setup. Because capture cards were super expensive back in the day. I mean, even now they're kind of expensive. Like, don't get me wrong. It's not like this Elgato was like cheap or anything in particular. But yeah, I don't really know what I was saying about that. But they were like super expensive beforehand, weren't they? Or like recording games has certainly got much easier, and like, well, recording anything has really gotten much easier in the past like few years. So with that, I'm eternally thankful. But yeah, I don't know what I was going to say about all of this, you know, troubleshooting. Is it plugged in? And plugged in, and I guess that's what will be the title for episode. You know, I'm just sort of just like trying to figure out what's title things. I don't, you know, on topic of plugs and that sort of thing. You might know I have like a piano, or a keyboard, I should say. Also in my room, because, you know, I used to play piano, and I bought a piano ages ago. Piano keyboards being like, I should really get back into doing it, and I'm very sort of stop start with it. You know, it's hard to find exactly the time to do it, I suppose, but certainly I should. It's basically long and short. I should also get some. Maybe I should get some other headphones for piano. The thing is, but piano like for a long time, at least the way I set up my room, I didn't like and one of the big annoying things about like wanting to play the piano is the fact that it was so much trouble to actually get it plugged in, because I had it plugged into the same sort of like power strip I have beneath my desk. So I was like, okay, every time you really need to leave a piano plugged in constantly, which, you know, I don't know, in my head that's like even worse for some reason than like leaving like my computer etc. on standby. Or I had to like crawl under the desk every single time to plug it in, and then, you know, do that, and for something I'm only going to play for like half an hour or something, it's like, I couldn't be bothered to do that. Nowadays, you know, I got it set up on like a different part of my room, and it's got its own like mini power strip next to it. Its own two socket power strip, which, you know, the other one is actually just for my electric toothbrush charger, but also I can use it for my phone charger sometimes as well. It's sort of like a flex slot, which I certainly should like lower the barrier for me to go play the piano. But except for now, I raised the barrier again because my piano is basically next to like my mirror. It's basically where I keep my makeup every day. So I'm like, oh, I need to do makeup, and I use it as a table to like put stuff in. And now it's like, oh, every time I'm like going to go to play piano. It's not every time I'm going to go to play piano I'm like, oh, I can't do it. There's foundation on my piano. Of course not. It's more just like subconsciously, I'm sure I'm looking at it being like, oh, I could play the piano, but I also, you know, would have to like put all this makeup back. I'm like, oh, I can't be bothered and move all these plushies which are trying to. So if anything, I feel like, you know, I've lowered the barrier to entry through one facet and then like completely raised it in another. So really what I'm saying is I need to get myself like a small like boutique table or something, and put it like down in the corner where nobody goes as a big gorilla. Anyway, oh, you know what, I could put it underneath the piano, because there's probably room underneath the piano, and just have like a very small sort of like desk table thing, and then like put makeup on there, because I don't need something that big. I also have like a shelving unit like next to my desk as well, which is actually where my makeup normally goes, but, you know, that's not next to my mirror, so I guess I should put that shelving unit next to my mirror. But then there's not enough room if I put my because if I put my keyboard there, then, you know, the keyboard like sort of it's very difficult to get out of my room because it's sort of like you had to slide between the keyboard and the door and to actually get out properly. And it's like, basically long and short is I guess I need a slightly bigger room than I've got currently. Or I put this stuff in a different room. Certainly, you know, in the future, I could see myself basically like having a bedroom where, you know, I've got my makeup stuff and my bed, and then in a separate room, have my computer, have my piano, etc., you know. Oh, what a luxury, having 2 different rooms. Oh my god. But as of right now, you know, everything in one room is completely fine. I just, you know, basically I just got to stop being silly. Apparently I haven't spoken to a lot of my villagers for ages. What else can I say about things being plugged in? I don't know, but there's just like not enough sockets. I don't know if it's just me necessarily in a very sort of technology-driven world, is the fact that all the sockets and like, you know, the sockets all over, you know, houses and that sort of thing. But the thing is, the places where I need to plug things in, they're all concentrated in basically like one area, you know? Like, oh, you know, how many things do you need to plug in your bathroom? Probably not a lot, you know, and I'd imagine, and even then the bathroom's got its own like shaver sockets or whatever. Have you? I mean, it's like, okay, and then, okay, in my bedroom, and then I need like 8 things plugged in because I'm like, I've got 2 or 3 monitors now, and I've got my computer, I've got the home landline phone, which honestly could deal without nowadays. I've got like my electric toothbrush charger and like other like electrical appliances I use, and then I've got like a keyboard which I need to plug in. It's like, there's too many things, and you just like, like how many sockets do you particularly need in a hallway? Like 0, to be honest. And it's like, and then you go to like a living room, it's like, you know, how many things do you need plugged in? And you got like the TV, like a router, you know, like a broadband box, like I don't know, and etc., like a lamp. And it's like, you know, well, it's basically what I'm saying is we need congregations of sockets, you know. But hallways, get rid of any sockets in hallways. No one needs sockets in hallways. Okay, maybe you can put 1 because maybe you want like a lamp or something in there. Fair enough. And then you need everyone's bedrooms. In one corner, there should be like 6 sockets all piled up on top of one each other. That's where you have to set your desk. And then like in the living room, you have like one wall which has like 8 sockets on it because that's what you need in that area. Obviously, this is an atrocious idea. Do not do this. You know, if you are any sort of like architectural planner, obviously I'm being facetious, but also at the same time, I'm kind of like, you know, I'm joking, but, you know, the core of my statement is still there. It's still annoying. Well, it's not that annoying, I'm going to be honest, but it's like, it just feels bad, I suppose, that plugging so many things into a power strip. I also forgot, once again, that we were trying to farm Nook Mom missions. Is there anything I can farm quickly? I can chop wood, I suppose, quickly. So yeah, I don't know, plugging things in. It's a vital ability to have in this day and age. And I can't believe I'm talking about like plugs and things. I haven't even talked about the fact that, you know, I can't believe that all across the world we've got so many different plug standards, you know. In fact, just the wildest thing. You know, you go to the UK, you got your free prong plug or whatever. You might be like, free? Why do you need free? You got live and neutral. What's the other one for? The other one is an earthing wire, and basically where if something has a metal casing on the outside, it can use that to be an earth, and it can also, you know, the way that plugs work is that you can't actually access the live and neutral without that third one being plugged in first, which is why it's slightly longer. And I remember my science teacher back in high school, you know, criticised it, being like, it's the stupidest thing. And, you know, I was like, oh yeah, it's so stupid. Now I look at it, I'm like, no, you know, I'm pretty fine with that, you know. You know, it basically adds no inconvenience to my life, but is it is a protection, I suppose, for children just randomly sticking things in sockets. I'm like, okay, fair enough. And, you know, it's fine by me, is all I can really say about that. So, you know, I'm perfectly fine with you for UK plug. But then, you know, you go to Europe, and then you might be like, where in Europe necessarily? Because there's like 8 different standards of like plugs in Europe, and you like go to America and it's completely different again. In Japan and China, they all got different ones. I don't know. It's an absolute nightmare. You need like a universal adapter, and it's like, oh, you know, they have like different wattages or whatever. So, you know, some things don't even work, or some things might get overloaded, or some things like might not draw enough power. And it's like, if only there was one universal standard. And in making one universal standard, you have made another standard which people will still subscribe to. You know that XKCD comic would be like, how can there be 13 different universal standards? We need to make one universal standard which encompasses all the cases. And it's like, nah, there are 14 universal standards. And you can go look it up, I don't know. Those comics are probably better read than me, you know, dictated. Anyway, I'm going to round up this episode here. So if you have been watching, thank you very much. It's been Animal Crossing New Horizons. I've been Dear Darling. Likes, comments, subscription, shares are greatly appreciated. Twitter, Discord down below. Hope we see each other again. But for now, it's our farewell. So until next time, bye-bye for now.